If we remember that life is not happening to us, but it's happening for us, then we get to embrace the journey. Welcome back to Off the Dome with Coach Ash. My name is Ashley Major. I'm a faith-based identity coach. And if you are new here, welcome. Off the Dome is a 90-day series where we talk about topics on identity, healing, and purpose that's intertwined in faith. And this is really an accountability challenge for me, but I get to share my wisdom and insights on these topics off the dome. So there's no script. This is real. This is raw. A little bit of edit just to take out some of the ums and ahs, but that's about it. So everything is fresh off the dome. We pick our topics and we roll with it, okay? And so today's topic, let's grab it, is how to break a negative thought spiral, okay? And so let's jump into this. I think I've shared this with you guys that recently I've been doing a lot of neuroscience studies because I am seeking to get my master's in clinical mental health counseling as well as social work. And so I'm doing, just some preliminaries to really see if this is the direction that I want to go into. But I've been learning more about anxiety. And so what happens is there's a trigger, and our triggers are brought on by our senses, right? So taste, smell, sight, hearing, what's the last one? Seeing. And the triggers elicit a thought. Now, what happens is we give that thought meaning. We attach meaning to whatever the trigger was and the thought that it brought about. And so this now brings on some form of emotion. So it can be anxiety, it can be fear, it can be anger, it can be any form of emotion that puts you in a negative state. When we get into this state, we now want relief. And the relief is often sought in perpetuating this feeling, this thought, and going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And so how do we break this spiral? How do we get out of it? The way to break it is to address it, not to sweep it under the rug, not to dismiss it, but to address it, not to pick up a compulsion by drinking it away. A lot of times we get into these feelings and these funks, and we now we bring something on to now soothe this feeling. It could be alcohol, it could be smoking, it could be picking up the phone and talking about the situation, when really you are not doing anything but reliving the situation. You are not dealing with it because you're not seeking solution. And so how to get out of this, how to break this spiral, is to face it head on. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? What about the situation, this thought, is making me feel this way? Are my feelings valid, right? Because a lot of times emotions may come on and our emotions may be real, but they may not equate to truth. So just because something happened, that may not be the truth behind what happened. That may just be your perception. We get to ask ourselves, are my feelings valid? Is this rooted in truth, or is this just rooted in my emotion towards it? Okay, and then we get to look at, well, what is the truth? It does not invalidate your feelings, but what it does is it allows you to see the truth behind the emotion. Okay, and now you get to reframe that thought. And it's funny because one of my students, she calls me the queen of reframing, right? Because I'm always going to stop and ask a question. Okay, well, yes, you feel that way, but why? Why do you feel that way? Are your feelings rooted in truth, or is it just rooted in, your experience? Because your experience may not be truth. I'll give you an example. So here it is. You may be walking down the street and you see somebody with their middle finger up in the air, right? But you're only seeing one side of their hand. You're not seeing that they actually have a peace sign up because you are looking at them from one angle. But when you turn around, you get the full picture, you may see them having a peace sign up. But in your mind, because you only saw the middle finger, you may think they were flicking you off or they were being rude and obnoxious, right? And so sometimes what may be your reality may not actually be truth. And so we get to make sure that when we are analyzing these thought patterns, we got to figure out, are they rooted in truth? I was in a class and the gentleman was talking about one of his patients. Every time she climbed a flight of stairs, she would do 4 steps at a time because she had a belief that if she didn't, her mom would die. And so they had to break this thought pattern, this belief, by getting her to see that her reality, what's going on in her mind, was not actually true. And so they got her to dress up in a Halloween costume as a bunny, and she would take the stairs hopping as a bunny. And over time, this little girl learned that, okay, I could take these stairs one at a time and nothing happens to my mom because I've been doing it all along in the bunny costume. And so it goes back to the point that I'm making. Sometimes our feelings, the thoughts that we have in our head, are not rooted in truth. And so we get to look outside the box that we put ourselves in. We get to look at different perspectives and really see, well, okay, this may be a possibility, but it doesn't have to be my reality. When we get into these negative spirals and these negative thought patterns, we get to choose our reality. We get to choose what lens we view it from. And we get to choose it by reframing our thought and asking questions. We get to shift our thought process from, oh, this is how I feel, to, okay, this is what the reality is, and I don't have to feel this way. I don't have to think this way. And a lot of our negative thought patterns are usually us feeling down about life, the things that are happening to us. But if we remember that life is not happening to us, but it's happening for us, then we get to embrace the journey as we live out our life. We get to look for light in every darkness. We get to be the light in the midst of the darkness, and we get to shine our light, right? We get to look at the positive and live it out. No matter what comes our way, storms are gonna come. Things are always gonna happen. But we get to choose how we view life, okay? So remember, Queen, life is not happening to you. It is happening for you. And if you ask yourself the right questions, and if you look for the truth, even in the negativity, you will find light, and you will be able to bring yourself out of that spiral, okay? So I pray that this was valuable. I pray that you got some gems. Drop a comment and let me know what are your takeaways. And if you have any questions that you would like to add to the bag, comment form, FORM, and I will send you the link to fill out the form to have your questions added, okay? So have a great day. Ta-ta.